What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Will Motivation back again with another video, and today we are talking about the Porsche 911 Carrera T. All right, so let's get this review started right away. Right here we have the 2024 Porsche 911 Carrera T. This is not a base Carrera. Like a lot of people say, you know, is the T a base Carrera? No, it's not a base Carrera. It's probably, I think, $10,000 to $20,000 more than the base Carrera, and it has some options on it that the base Carrera does not have. As this has 379 horsepower and around 300 foot-pound of torque. The engine is actually on the rear of the car. Unfortunately, I can't pop this open to show you the engine, but I mean, if I popped open anything, the only thing you can pop open back here is this right here. So, but let's talk about the styling of the 911 Carrera T. The overall shape of the car, I'm gonna have to give the Porsche the win on exterior looks. It looks a little bit more exotic and sporty. So this one has 21-inch tires on the rear or rims and 20 on the front. I went light on the carbon fiber. I don't think we have any carbon fiber on the Porsche, and I'm completely happy with it. All right, so let's talk about the inside and the drive and how it is to drive this vehicle. The price of this one, the way I have it spec'd out, was $166. So this is going to cost you a lot more. It's rear-wheel drive, but if you want something that's going to kill on the track or just to take out to the car shows, to enjoy driving characteristics, let's get inside and talk about this car. All right, so here's your view from the cockpit on the Porsche 911 Carrera T. As you can see, this one I have the red stitching and the chalk gray accents, like you can see here in the interior. Chalk gray right there. So instead of doing carbon fiber, we did paint it. So we got chalk gray on the doors, right? I could have did carbon fiber. You have this Sport Tech seating, which is like a sturdy material, like a sturdy checkered material, black. And then you have leather on the outside, and then the red stitching, the 911 in the headrest. The cool thing about this, it does have back seats. They're not quite as big as the BMW M4 back seats, because those back seats in the M4 are very usable, as a matter of fact. Whereas the back seats in the Carrera T, I mean, you can get back there, but good luck getting even putting your feet down. Let's start this thing up. All righty. Look at all the functionality on the steering wheel. You got this, you got this. We'll do a how to drive video on the Porsche 911, but right now we just wanted to review the car. And for those of you that are interested in a comparison to the M4, we'll have that in a separate video. But I mean, this car has full features and functionality, man. Anything you can think of, the car has it. Like, look at the screen right here. All right, so reviewing the interior on the Porsche 911, I mean, it's very well laid out, German engineering. You got your memory seats, door locks, your mirror controls and your window controls. You have your gear selector here. If there's something I don't like about it, it would be this little gear selector. I think it should have been the one in the 991.2 Porsches with where you could actually do gear selection and have something nice to hold and sturdy to hold on to while you're driving, like as if you had a manual. I would have preferred that. I hate this. Like if Porsche is watching this, or they come to watch this video, get rid of this and put a regular shifter in there. You can make it a little bit smaller, like the BMW M4 shifter, if you want to make it more slick. But get rid of this little thing. Get a regular shifter in here that we can go up and down on the gears if we want to. But you have your park, your manual. You have paddle shifters. They're kind of small, and you know, they're not. There's a lot of aftermarket ones you can put on. You've got your exhaust control, so we can open up the exhaust and we'll drive the car and let you hear that. You have your sport mode control, Sport Plus, or putting it back in normal, and we'll turn the exhaust back off. You have your digital dash on the left and on the right, so you can control what's shown on the digital dash by going up and down, you know, on this little selector here. Right there, you got even can put a map on there, which is pretty dope. All right, so yeah, digital dash, and then the tachometer is still analog, so it's still, you know, revs just like the old Porsches, which is pretty dope. And you got your controls over here for cruise control, your blinker, your lighting controls. This is how you start the car with this right here. Like I said, we'll do a how to drive video where we'll get into all of the switches and controls for using this car, which will be a really thorough, probably a 30-minute video. So stay tuned for that and subscribe if you want to see that. But let's review this car on how it drives, what I like about it, what I don't like about it. All right, so let's take this Porsche 911 Carrera T for a drive. This is the 992.1 Porsche, and we spec this car pretty good. So it has front end lift, which is very useful. We have it up right now. I like to do, when I review a car, I like to do a checklist, sort of a, you know, the most important things that you care about when you buy a car or you consider a car, which would be like your suspension. How does the suspension feel? How do the brakes feel? How does the acceleration? How does the car sound? The driving characteristics, the steering, the throttle input, you know, along with the acceleration. So let's just start going down the list. I'm just going to randomly pick some of the topics and the things that stand out. First of all, when you're driving this car, first thing you notice is that the car has all of the modern technology that you could ever want in a, you know, a car that was built within the last 3 or 4 years. This is a 2024 model, and Porsche already has released the 992.2 2025 model, which has some minor changes, completely a full complete digital dash, for example, things of that nature. But this is the 2024, and I wanted the 2024 because I still wanted that digital or that analog tachometer, you know, for my speedo and everything. I wanted that, but you still have Apple CarPlay. You've got full digital MMI, which is very useful. So yeah, that's the first feel that you get, is this car has all of the modern. I have like adaptive cruise control. It has all of the modern tech that you would want in your car. BMW M4 also has the modern tech as well, so they're kind of neck and neck in that regard. Now let's talk about some of the driving characteristics, and I'm going to rate some of this stuff on a scale of 1 to 10. So first things first, let's talk about the brakes. How do the brakes feel in the Porsche Carrera 911 Carrera T? The brakes in this car, I have the steel brakes. I don't have the carbon ceramics. So first of all, this is not a review of the carbon ceramics. The steel brakes. The steel brakes are excellent. They feel great. They're responsive. You know, stopping power is linear. There's no squeaking or squealing. So I would give the brakes a 9 out of 10. I mean, there's always room for improvement. Maybe a little bit less brake dust, maybe a little bit more sensitive, but to be honest with you, the brakes are perfectly fine. Like I mean, I give them a 9 out of 10 because leaving room for improvement. All right, the next input you have your steering and your throttle input and your acceleration. I'm going to put the car in sport mode, so you may be able to hear it a little more. Yeah, I love driving this car. All right, so let's talk about it. I'm going to go straight right here. Acceleration and throttle input. I'm going to give you an example of the acceleration. So let me I'm going to slow down here a little bit. Let me show you guys on this view here. All right, let's do an acceleration. First of all, it's not the fastest car in the world, but it kind of feels like it. Like, it's a small car, but did you hear the sound? Did you hear that sound? Man, I give the sound for a stock vehicle, I give the sound an 8 out of 10. The only thing that can make the sound better is if it was louder. Maybe a little bit more, like when you put it in sport mode or in Sport Plus. Maybe if one of those modes would have some loud cracks and, you know, cracks and bangs or whatever, pops and bangs. Maybe a little bit more of that, because this car it burbles a little bit. Like, let's listen. There's the burbles. You probably couldn't even hear it. It burbles a little bit, but I give the sound an 8 out of 10, and it would be better if it was louder, but because you'll get used to it after a while and it starts sounding quiet. But we have a fix for that. We got an exhaust we're going to put on this car. Now, acceleration. We talked about brakes. Acceleration, I'll rate the acceleration for a Carrera T. It's not the GTS with the bigger turbos. It's not a Turbo S, which has a bigger engine and bigger turbos, and is like a 9-second car almost out of the box, I think. This is like an 11.7 second quarter mile car, but it feels like it's a little faster when you're driving it, which is good. So I give the acceleration for what it is. I give the acceleration a 8 out of 10. What we got here on the display? Yeah, I give acceleration an 8 out of 10. This technology is crazy, man. They're sending me notifications and stuff. 8 out of 10 for the acceleration. Let me put my glasses on, man, while we're driving this thing. Acceleration. If you had the GTS turbos, this car would probably be perfect. So if you're shopping for a 911 and you want maximum acceleration for a Carrera that's not a Turbo S, then you might want to get the GTS. But you're going to pay a lot more for the GTS with the options that this car has, which is one of the attractive things about the Carrera T. Another attractive thing about the Carrera T is it's built to be a more lightweight spec of the 911. So it has lightweight glass, it has lightweight, I mean, you can get it without the rear seats. You can get this car in a manual, which would save weight. I got the PDK because, well, the PDK is the best automatic transmission of any car that I've ever owned. And I've owned Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and you name it, you know, I've had over time. So this is the best transmission of any car that I have ever driven. So that goes into the review. And the acceleration is, you know, how's the transmission? Transmission is the best. The transmission is the best. So acceleration, I'll give it a 7 or 8 out of 10. But for what it is, it's good. It's really good. It's the fastest. Let me put it to you like this. They rate this car at 379 horsepower. This is absolutely the fastest 379 horsepower car I have ever owned in my life. Like I said, I've owned a lot of cars, so that's saying something. The car feels fast, and it is fast, you know, for a base engine Carrera. All right, so let's talk about the transmission. We're in some stop and go traffic right now. The transmission, like, this can be like a short part of the review. The transmission is hands down the best performance transmission in a car that you can get, the PDK transmission, period. So I give the transmission a 10 out of 10. Not only for how it feels when you're shifting, how fast it shifts, but also the most important thing to me is that when I give throttle input, when I press the gas, I want the transmission and the programming of the transmission, I want that to like respond to my throttle input to give me the right gear for what I'm trying to do with my throttle input. So some cars, like a lot of times there's a problem in Audis. The BMW actually does a good job of the transmission as well, I have to say. But a lot of times in Audis, right, I have an Audi RS3 right now. When I get into that middle, like in that 30% throttle to 70% throttle range, there's a dead spot. Like nothing happens with the transmission when I'm moving the throttle like this, and nothing happens. The car doesn't downshift, it just lugs. And I hate that about the transmission programming in the Audi. In the Porsche, that does not happen. You know, the transmission responds to your throttle input and puts you in the right gear, and it uses all of the 7 or 8 gears that this car has. I think it has 8-speed transmission. So the PDK transmission is the best, 10 out of 10 for the transmission. Talk about the steering. The steering in this car, I'll rate the steering a 8 out of 10. It's geared and set up for more sporty driving. I opted to get the electronic enhanced steering, which would make the steering a little bit easier in parking scenarios or when you're sitting still. It's supposed to make it a little easier, but it's not really, it doesn't help. In Audi, it's super buttery soft steering. I love the Audi steering. The Audi steering gets like a 10 out of 10. Steering in this car, it's like an 8 out of 10. With that, what I paid extra for the enhanced steering at low speeds is not that different. It doesn't seem to help that much. So there's room to improve on the steering, especially if you pay for that extra. Whoa, people are driving crazy right here. There's room to improve on the steering. All right, so we talked about steering, we talked about braking, we talked about acceleration. Let's talk about the suspension in the Porsche 911 once we get through this traffic a little bit. All right, let's talk about the suspension in the 2024 Porsche 911 Carrera T. Now, this has what's called PASM suspension, which is Porsche Active Suspension Module or something like that. I don't know exactly what PASM stands for, but basically what it is, basically what it is with the steering, the suspension, is it's active, where you can adjust how stiff it is or how soft it is. To be honest, I haven't played with it a lot. I pretty much use the settings for sport mode and for regular driving and normal mode. But the suspension adjusts depending on what mode you're in. And I had a GT3 991.1 and a 991.2. The suspension in my GT3, even though it's a sports car, Porsche, was the absolute best suspension I've ever had in any car that I've ever owned. This car is not quite as good as the suspension setup in the GT3, but I would rate this suspension, especially when you're comparing it to sports cars out there, I would give it very high marks. I would give the suspension a 9 out of 10. 8 or 9. Let's say an 8.5 for the suspension. It does have some harshness to it when you're going over bumps and stuff in the city. It jars the chassis a little bit. However, it's excellent. I mean, the suspension is excellent. It's just a little bit harsher than which is crazy because in my GT3, it did not seem to be this harsh. Now, as you can hear, there's a little bit of rattles and noise. I don't know if that's something I have in the glove box or if that's something in the door, but I do hear a little rattle. I can't say whether or not it's the car or something I put inside the car. But build quality overall in the Porsche 911, especially when you compare it to the M4, I would give this car high marks. I would give it a 9 out of 10, and maybe it's a 10 out of 10 if that rattle is coming from something I put in the car, as opposed to something the car is doing rattling. It's kind of bothering me actually. I gotta see what it is. It sounds like it's coming from the door, and I don't have anything inside the door. There's a seatbelt over there, but you don't hear any rattles from the rear end of the car or the front end of the car. And the build quality and the tech in this car is top notch. And Porsche has the reputation for building a high quality car with the latest technology. Tech in this car. Now, that's probably a new category for reviews. It should be the tech. I give the tech in this car a 10 out of 10. Like, there's nothing that the car doesn't have that I wanted, you know. So the tech, I give the tech a 10 out of 10. All right, so that's my overall review of the Porsche. We're gonna do a how to drive video of this 911 Carrera T and show you the intricate details of how to drive this car. But overall, my impression as an owner, I've had this car for about a month and a half, and my overall, you know, rating and review of this car, it's a 9 out of 10. Could use a little bit more power, a little bit louder exhaust, maybe just a little bit. The exhaust tone is excellent. The driving characteristics are excellent. I took it on a road trip. It drove excellent. Oh, another thing, if you're thinking about ordering one of these cars, always get the extended range fuel tank. I can get over 500 miles to a tank of gas, and on a road trip I can get 600 miles to one tank of gas. That's like twice the range of the regular gas tank in this car. The regular gas tank is pretty small. You're going to be doing like barely 200 miles, you know what I'm saying, to a tank of gas. So if you're thinking about getting one of these cars, definitely highly recommended, highly rated vehicle. Super fun. I've got some mods that are planned for this car, like larger GTS turbos, you know, with a new tune for the car, which should make the car run even better. I have new wheels coming for the car, and the Tech Art 911 Tech Art kit for the exterior of the car. So we've got Tech Art kit coming for the car, which should be spectacular because it's coming any day now. Right now we're on our way to take the car to the paint shop because they have my new carbon fiber hood that we're going to put on the vehicle as well, which is a GT3 style hood, which should look really nice on this 911 Carrera T. So that's my review. Highly recommend the car. The car is awesome. The seats, I should have probably rated the seats. I wish I could have got a better interior on the Carrera T, but I mean, you can get full leather, but you can't do some of the fancy stuff like Alcantara, which is a downside. But if you get a little bit higher model like the GTS, you can do Alcantara inserts in the seats and some cool stuff like that. So I wish the interior had a little more pop to it, but I'm happy with it nonetheless. So that's my review of the Carrera T 2024 991 or 992.1. Hope you enjoyed this review. Hit that subscribe button if you want more. But if anything, hit that like button for me if you like this video. See you in the next one.
It's the one and only Floyd Money Mayweather. I'm here to tell you guys to go to Wheel Motivation. The exotic cars is crazy. I've been watching this show for a little while now and it's growing. But we need everybody else to subscribe to Wheel Motivation and support Will. I'm supporting them. You do the same.